On November 4th, 1955, Soviet Communist Party released a new decree on elimination of excess in design and construction, which ended Stalin's classicism at once and started a new era of standard residential housing. In order to decrease building costs in times of housing crisis, a range of measures were taken. For instance, based on certain calculations, amount of space and light was decreased to a minimum. Expensive brick was replaced by panel blocks, and at first only 3-4 floors were allowed in order to avoid the use of elevators. Maximum ceiling height was about 2.6 meters and kitchen area only about 7 square meters. Poor sound isolation and absolutely no decorative elements. With the help of propaganda, the new type of living was met with an excitement and hope for the new better future, where you could have your own apartment without having to share. Despite the temporary character of the panel houses, which were never planned to exist for generations, they created a profound permanent influence on people's lives. I believe that places we grew up in do not define us, but they do become the backdrop of our sense of self. This can be evident through the visual language of the contemporary popular culture. After the escapism of the early 2000s, films and music of today is increasingly filled with the release of the common sense of despair and melancholy associated with living in the landscapes made of panels and concrete. Architecture is a manifestation of its time and has a unique quality to preserve collective experiences and memories in a material form. Due to their obsolete nature, panel houses of 60s and 90s are demolished or subjected to fundamental renovation, both of which erases narratives of those who lived in them. At this moment in time, we still have a possibility to access architecture of this type and at the same time listen to the stories of people who, like me, grew up in such an environment. Vast changes in urban planning may drastically affect these possibilities in the future. For my project, I'm going to create a collective image of life in a typical panel block of flats. Referring to the function of imagery in the construction of memory palaces, each separate image within my visual narrative is going to serve as a key in reactivating a certain part of the story about how collective and individual lives were shaped by stairwells, elevator doors, windows in the bathrooms, and blind corners, like this one, in the house where I grew up, where a man was successfully hiding for a week without being noticed by anyone.